Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. Welcome to the Game Changer. I'm Anita, the President of MIASA and your host for this chat session. And as always, this week we continue to spotlight individuals that have done tremendous work for change, creating an impact, and are inspiring in their own ways. And we are truly humbled because this week we have with us, discussing the topic of transforming communities for inclusion, creating hope through action, is Prof. Dr. Ruzita Mohd Amin. Welcome, Prof. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm fine, Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Prof, for coming on our show. So before we dive into our topic of discussion, allow me to introduce a little bit about Prof. Ruzita. It's a long profile, a lot of work that she has done, massive experience. Thank you so much, Prof. Ruzita, for all that you have done. So Prof. Ruzita, currently she is with IIUM, the International Islamic University Malaysia, and she joined IIUM since 1987. Oh, dah lama tu, Prof. And currently she is the professor at the Department of Economics, and she was the Deputy Dean of the Kuliah of Economics and Management Sciences from 2005 to 2007. She was also the editor of the IIUM Journal of Economics and Management, currently known as the International Journal of Economics, Management and Accounting, for the periods of 1995 to 2004 and 2008 to 2011. She was also the one who initiated the Disability Services Unit in IIUM in 2012 and became the head of Disability Services Unit ever since. And her research interests includes disability studies, social economics, development economics, economic integration, and economic theory from the Islamic perspective. A mouthful. Okay, I don't know much about that, Prof. Maybe you can explain that a little bit more as we go along our conversation today. And she was also a member of the National Council of the Persons with Disabilities under the Ministry, Women, Family and Community Development Malaysia for the period from January 2013 to December 2016. And on August 2014, she was appointed as the co-chairman of the Committee on Universal Design and Built Environment of the National Council of Persons with Disabilities. In 2018, she was chosen as one of the members of the National Education Advisory Council for period from 2018 to 2020 under the Ministry of Education during the time YB Dr. Mazli Malik. And she has garnered 2 awards, everyone. In 2002, Prof, for Quality Research Award under the Kuliah of Economics and Management Sciences, and also in 2012, Special Award for Academic Achievement for Persons with Disabilities in conjunction with the International Day for Persons with Disabilities by the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development. Truly grateful, Prof, for your time today. First and foremost, on behalf of all Malaysians, thank you so much for all your hard work, for continuing to persevere and, you know, supporting us, persons with disabilities. Thank you so much. Okay, so to begin with, everyone, Prof, maybe if you can share with us a little bit about, you know, how has your journey been thus far, and we would like to, of course, hear your story. We want to be inspired, and maybe a little bit about what do you do during your free time, and what does a normal day look like you, Prof?
First of all, thank you very much, Anita and MIASA, for having me here today.
Thank you so much for being here.
Alhamdulillah. So maybe I can just share with you some of my experiences. I think I'm sure many people have got, you know, much more experiences than me, but I will just share what I've gone through, you know, through my life. Basically, I was born healthy, okay, a healthy baby, but at the age of 1, I had polio. Okay. So the polio actually affected the neurological, quite creates neurological impairment. So I had a paralysis, they call it. So I had weaknesses in my limbs, all 4 limbs actually. So I can still move my hands, but actually with limited mobility. So I'm actually quadriplegic, not really paraplegic. So that's why I use a motorized wheelchair. Because sometimes people don't understand. They think that, oh, because you have money, you can buy a motorized wheelchair.
Exactly.
You know? But it's actually not that. It's because we need it, you know, because of our limitations. So, but basically, you know, the journey has not been easy, right? Because, in fact, you know, when I wanted to go to school, you know, there were problems in searching a school that can accept me, right, at that time. So, but alhamdulillah, there was one school which accepted me, but of course on condition that my mother had to stay, you know, the entire time during my stay in school. So when my mother at that time was, you know, a housewife, so she said okay, you know, and I was actually the youngest of 3 siblings.
Okay,
all girls, right? So because I'm the youngest, I suppose she has time actually to spend for me. So she did that, you know, every day in school, and because schools are not accessible and so on, right?
Of course, of course.
Yeah. But you know, in when I was in standard 5, we had she actually carried me physically back and forth, and the school was not that far, but actually quite far, about 1 mile away from my house. But of course, at that time, you know, people with cars are very, very few, you know. So she was actually carrying me on foot, you know, carrying me until
from home to school.
From home to school, back and forth, you know.
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward your mother.
Yeah, inshallah, you know. So she, you know, until I was in standard 3. So I think we got a donation of a wheelchair. So instead of carry, she wheeled me lah, back and forth. So and then my sister was also in the same school. Then as she grew bigger, my mom can actually leave for a while and so on.
Okay. So at least your sister was there to be that support for you.
Yes, exactly, right. Also, my friends were also very nice, you know.
Of course.
Because at that time with the wheelchair, you know, I was very funny, you know.
Right.
I was actually the only, you know, we were talking about ethnicity, you know. My friends are all Chinese, you know. We were the only like very few 2 or 3 Malay students in the school. But you know, they were very helpful. We were very close, you know. When I wanted to go to the toilet, they are the ones who actually wheeled me, you know, to the toilet and so on. So you know, we became very close, alhamdulillah.
Oh yeah, those days the wheelchairs are not like the wheelchairs today.
Exactly. So they have to wheel me, and these are tiny girls, you know.
Betul.
Those school kan. So you know, they have been very helpful all through my secondary school and so on. But my father passed away when I was standard 5. So we had to move from my father was a fireman. So we had to move from the quarters to a different place. So the only place that we could find that's close enough to the school was Low-U flats.
I see.
So you know, the flats, you know, at that time is the facilities are
very minimal,
very minimal. Yeah, very minimal. You know, they have got lifts, but the lifts always break down.
Betul.
And my house was on the 16th floor.
Of course, it had to be up there.
I had to be up there, you know, with the view and so
Betul.
on. So nothing less than the view. So you know, but you know, when the lift break down, if I'm still in my house, so I will have to skip school.
Yes.
Right? So but my teachers know about it, right? So and then but if the problem is if I come back from school and the lift breaks down, so I have to climb on the 16th floor. You know, I cannot do that. You know, so I think most of the floors, you know, people just carry me up and you know to.
Oh, that's really nice, though, Prof.
Yes, they're very nice. Alhamdulillah.
How did you feel though, Prof, being, you know, just you mentioned a couple of Malays, but then maybe were you the only person on a wheelchair during the time?
Yes, at that time, yes.
How did that make you feel, Prof?
Actually, of course you feel different, okay. But my friends were nice enough to actually make me feel part of them, you know.
Okay, so you felt included.
Included, yeah. But of course, there are certain things that I cannot join. Like for instance, when they had physical, you know,
PE of course.
So I end up, you know, just taking care of their watches, okay, and then stay in class, you know, doing my homework, you know. So, but I miss that fun, lah, you know. So I'm just wishing that now schools are better, you know, in terms of inclusivity and so on, right? But at that time it was like that. So you know, and there's not much activity that I can join after class because I'm quite limited. I have to go back, you know. I cannot stay back. I cannot go home on my own. Right. But once in a while, my friends would just say, "Come lah to my house," and so on, you know. Then they said, "Never mind, I'll push you back to your house," you know. So they came lah with my mom's permission. Sometimes once in a while, I do that.
Oh, mashallah, alhamdulillah.
So alhamdulillah, they were nice, but facilities are, you know, not that very supporting. But teachers are also very nice, you know, alhamdulillah. So I managed through school, okay. And then when it comes to you know, a university, so alhamdulillah, at the time IIUM was established in 1983. Actually,
I'm an alumni.
Alhamdulillah, good. Okay. So actually, at that time, of course, UM was the university, right? I applied and I got a place there actually. By then, a letter came to my house offering me a place in IIUM. At that time, I think I don't know how they do the selection.
Were you surprised or were you shocked?
I was surprised actually.
Yeah.
So I said, oh, now I got 2 offers, you know. So which one should I choose? Then I said, okay, why don't I talk to my teacher, you know.
Right.
So my teacher was explaining to me, he said, okay, you know, you go here, yeah, it's good, university, but you know, why don't you try IIUM, because it's international,
Betul.
it's Islamic, you know, you can get both, you know,
Both
worldly
worlds,
things and, you know, for the akhirat kan. So okay, so I accepted, you know, I took her advice. Of course, it was accepted the challenge, you know, because I didn't know what to expect, you know.
Right.
So registration day, first day, you know, the campus was in BJ, yeah, close to MIASA's clubhouse.
Yes,
Okay.
betul.
So you know, and it was staircase everywhere, you know. At that time,
Yeah,
I
it
still,
is. I remember.
Yeah, I could still walk with crutches, you know, and using my leg braces, but still with difficulty. I couldn't really manage staircases, especially without handrails. Yeah?
Right. And it takes a while as well.
Yeah, and staircases everywhere, no handrails.
Yes.
You know. So, but you know, I don't know. I think it's the power of tawakal and doa as well. You know. So I said, okay, this is like something that I've got to do. You know. So I walk. Takes a while, you know, it's quite tiring, but kuat semangat ni. So walk.
Kuat semangat kuat semangat ni Puan Ruzita ni.
Tengok kawan-kawan pun semangat lah nak belajar kan. So so you encounter that staircase. Okay, how do I do this? You know, I just stay tawakal and doa, God please help me do this easily. And somehow I managed, you know, with my crutches to go up the stairs, and it was not that bad. You know, alhamdulillah, it was like maybe
you don't know if you don't try.
You don't try, and maybe you know Allah's help kan,
passion.
you know, Allah's help mungkin. You know, I felt like macam, you know, maybe somebody is holding me. You know, like at that time, you know, I thought it was sort of a miracle lah, because before that I couldn't. You know, I really couldn't handle it. So alhamdulillah, you know, and then of course over time, then the university saw that I had difficulties. They started installing handrails and so on, especially the path that I normally take, kan. And then my friends were very supportive. They become my handrails. You know, this is my arm. They use it. You know, so you know, until now we are very close. You know, alhamdulillah. So and they are actually the pillars. You know, of course, families. You know, my family is very strong as well, supporting my lecturers, teachers. You know, they have been very strong. So before the university, actually, I had offers after SPM to go to overseas. Right. You know, and then of course I declined because my mom wouldn't have it lah. But after the university, I graduated. Right. I'm on the top students, alhamdulillah.
Of course you did. Of course.
And then you know, I got offered to be absorbed as one of the academic staff. Right. And we were required to do our you know, masters and PhD abroad. Okay, so alhamdulillah, you know, I went for my masters in the US, okay, Northwestern University, and my lecturer, I sought advice from my lecturers. Right. So they say that, okay, why don't you bring your mom along? Say, because you don't know what to expect there, you know? And they were quite worried about me, you know, I cannot manage there. And I said, okay, you know, I really, you know, held the opinion very high. So I asked my mom, and I said, okay, can go with me. Even my siblings said, okay. So you know, so started the journey. But the only problem was that, you know, at that time the scheme was, we call it Scheme Latihan Akademik Umi Putra SLAP program. Okay, so for this program, if the staff is a married staff, okay, and has got a spouse, there is actually a spouse allowance, children allowance, okay, and so on. But for me, you know, I was single, okay, I had to bring my mom because I need her. Right. But there's no such allowance for you know, assistance. So I had to go on my own, then take my salary yang sangat-sangat sikit at that time, kan. So convert to USD, it's not much. Of course. But at least top it up, you know. But we did it, you know, we managed to get through, alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, food was cheap.
Of course.
Right, so
and during that time, the currency exchange wasn't bad. Wasn't bad. Not like now.
Exactly. So we managed, you know, I finished my masters and I came back. I had to go to do my PhD again, brought to her along. Alhamdulillah, so managed to come back.
How many years was that? How many years did it take for your masters? Full time?
PhD, full time. Okay, that's about 1.5 years.
1.5 years for your
then
masters.
my PhD, I did it in 3 years.
MashaAllah.
Because, you know, I was feeling guilty. I took my mom for a long time. You know, I better do this fast. You know?
Did you guys come back ever? Like during that tenure?
No. But at that time, my sisters they
came and visit.
Yeah, because they were all working, so they came and visit. So that was a nice time at that time.
Prof. Ruzita, congratulations. I know this is many, many years ago, but maybe, you know, maybe some of them that are watching, and me too included, very curious about how different was it for you studying at IIUM with very limited, you know, facilities and accessibility, comparing that to the US during it. Because I studied in the US, and US is very inclusive.
Yes,
particularly the university that I was in, but maybe if you can share a little bit on that.
Oh yes, definitely a very stark contrast in the way that in terms of facilities. In terms of facilities, you know, over there I feel that, you know, I can be really independent.
Yes.
And when before I went, I know that, you know, at the time I was still working. I told you that.
Right.
So, but you know, UIA campus is very small, so I could still walk. You know, so if the class is at 10 o'clock, I start working at 9:30.
Right.
Okay, because although it's a very short distance, I have to start working, you know, much earlier. This is the big campus in the States. How do I manage? So I was thinking that I need a motorized wheelchair. So at that time there's no internet, you know, I have to write to the university and so on. So but they're very nice, they provide information, catalog and so on. So okay, this is the thing that I need, the scooter, motorized scooter, that's the cheapest, you know. But I don't have the money because I just started working. So then I was thinking, okay, why don't I try and ask the university if they can give me a loan, like a motorcycle loan, kan? So I applied, they gave. They gave, alhamdulillah. So of course there will be different arrangement because I cannot buy it there, kan? So they give me the money, we bought it over there, alhamdulillah. So I managed with my scooter, you know. I still keep it until now because it's like my very first scooter, you know.
Sentimental value as well.
And suddenly I feel so independent, you know. I can do anything myself, everything myself. The house is accessible, you know. And you know, I can go to shops, you know, after class I can go anywhere I want. Can go to the lakeside, you know, so.
And many people do that, so you don't feel weird or odd, and people don't stare at you at the same time. It's really different. I mean, you can wear, you know, a pink fluorescent shirt with a green fluorescent pants. Nobody looks at you as well. Exactly, it's really different.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's so interesting, Prof. Ruzita. Maybe a little bit more about, you know, as you shared, you've done, you know, a lot in your academic career and in your education path. But maybe what are some challenges, not necessarily, you know, facilities wise, but maybe, you know, the emotional impact, psychological impact, you know, going through, because even for a normal person it takes a lot, especially that PhD journey. It's tough.
It is tough.
Tell us, share with us, what's the secret to your success?
PhD is a very lonely journey.
It is,
right? And on top of that, we have a disability.
Yes.
Right? What I discover is that you know, if we get stressed out, you know, you go through a lot of stress, you know.
Yes,
the whole process. Even as a person with disability, we go through a lot of stress. When you go here, you cannot, you know, the staircase here and there, you know. But you know, these things, I find that, you know, I have to, you know, talk to God. You know, talk to God. That's the biggest one. Actually, of course, we talk to our friends. You know, certain emotional support. Sometimes you go through ups and downs in life. You know, you get big, you know, not good comments. You know, or you perform not so well. You know, in your presentation. Sometimes it really brings you down, right?
Of course.
You can talk to friends. You know, very important to talk to friends. The support structure there. Talk to the family. My mom was there. You know, she's always there, and you know, even though she doesn't understand what I go through, but you know, just for being there is enough.
Exactly,
you know?
exactly.
So I don't even tell her, but just for being there is already enough. But you know, I find that I have to find solace. You know.
Yes.
You know, and get help. You know. Certain problems, to me, there are two types of problems. One that you can solve, another that you have to live with. You cannot do anything much.
Leave it to God.
Yeah, leave it to God. You know? The one thing that you can solve, you know, if it's your problem, your deficiencies, do something about it. Right? Then overcome it. But if it's something that you have to live with it, like my disability, live with it, and how do you overcome it, and how do you, you know, still be happy with it. You know? So the redha has to be there. Redha, you know. So you have to be acceptance of our condition. You know, whether it is mental health issue, physical disability, you know, then it's to be acceptance, because it is considered as a test.
It is.
Allah, you know, because the entire life is a test.
Exactly.
It is a journey. So people are tested in different ways. So I'm tested in this way. You know, and I believe that, you know, it is something that God gives us. You know, when God gives us something, it is always good.
Yes,
it's always good. You know, no matter sometimes it looks bad to us, but actually it's good for us. There's always hikmah, and the reason behind it
Of
that
course.
only Allah knows, right? So and you know, that's where you try to build your resilience and your strength, your inner strength. That your strength actually comes from your spiritual connection, you know. So talk to God. We say that talk to God, have a conversation with God, you know.
Right.
How, you know, when do we talk to God? We talk to God in our prayers, you know, in our salah and so on. But when does God talk to us? It's like God talks to us actually when we read the Quran. Okay, that's when actually God is talking to us, right? So these are the things that, you know, that I find very important, the spiritual content, because you know, we are man is comprised of physical and spiritual being, right?
We
so
are.
The spiritual side, we need to fill up, you know,
Betul.
otherwise negative things will come into our minds. So it's very important. And also, if people do bad things towards you,
Right.
we go through that a lot, you know. Sometimes people say hurtful things, so we just have to find a way to forgive and try to forget it, you know.
Right.
And try to be happy, you know, because if we still, you know, if we still think about it, you know, it brings us down further. Okay, right. So basically, that's how I cope with it.
Yeah, that's actually true, Prof. Ruzita. I think for a lot of people, and for a lot of us out there as well, that connection, that spiritual connection. I mean, whatever religion, whatever
Yes.
belief system you might have,
Exactly.
but that religion, that spirituality really
Exactly.
helps us to make sense of things. And I know a lot of people, always say, Allah is, as an example for Muslims, Allah is the greatest, Dia Maha segala-galanya, but why is there still suffering?
Yeah.
But again, this life is a test.
Yes.
And this is, through adversity, through our struggles, we turn, as an example, pain, struggles into purpose. And this is also why this conversation is important. Thank you very much, Prof. Ruzita. And my next question is, how do you see the development services of PWDs in Malaysia nowadays? What and how can we do better to be more inclusive and ensure that our rights as PWDs are protected? And how can the community help? Because of course the community, they have a role, and we need to empower the community as well. But before you answer that, we have to take a short break. So stay tuned, everyone. We will be right back, only on The Game Changer.
Hi there. If you're watching this, you probably care about change. And one of the ways to make the biggest changes is to take care of our mental health. If you want a safe space to share and grow with others, consider our circle time and peer support. If you want to express your emotions with your creative side, why not try out our expressive dance, speech and drama, or even art classes? If you need help figuring things out, processing your emotions, or support with your mental health challenges, our counselors, clinical psychologists, and spiritual therapists are here. If you want a snapshot of your mental health, come in for a mental health screening and assessment. At MIASA, we care for you and we want to be there for you. If you're having trouble figuring out where to begin, contact us and we'll help you get started. Because you matter.
Welcome back to The Game Changer. We are still in conversation with Prof. Ruzita. Thank you very much, Prof. So, just a little bit, Prof, maybe on the development of services for PWDs in Malaysia. What are your thoughts on this?
There have been improvements, okay?
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. We cannot deny that, right?
Yes.
For instance, in education, we now have for higher education, in 2012, they introduced the directives, on implementation of teaching and learning for
Yes.
students with disabilities. And then in 2019, the Ministry of Higher Education also launched the guidelines on implementation of disability inclusion
Yes.
policy for all IPTs. Yeah. So from these two documents, now we have many universities having disability services unit.
Yes.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Okay, and there are improvements also in terms of the facilities, accessibility. But I wish that it can be faster.
Yes,
It can be
me
faster.
too. Us too.
Faster, right? And also there are still many policies that has been announced much earlier. For instance,
Yes.
that 1% employment of persons with disabilities in the public sector, right? That was announced in 1988, right?
Yes.
So after 33 years, unfortunately, the achievement is only about 0.33%.
Betul.
To me, that's very low, lah.
Very low, not fully enforced
very
as
low,
well.
Right? So we actually had a study on on the employability. There are many factors actually.
Yeah.
One of it is actually the environment is not enabling. Actually for many of the PWDs, we can actually be independent life if you are given the opportunity.
Of course.
Right, access to education, access to employment, right? Access to education, for instance, our schools need to be inclusive.
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes there are still schools, even with PPKI program, Pendidikan Khas Integrasi, the facilities for the disabled students are not there yet, right? So that's very difficult for the students, right? And for universities also, many universities are been built years ago, right? So we need time to actually upgrade and so on. So alhamdulillah, the government has actually allocated some funds for upgrading and so on, but it needs to be faster, right? Transportation is another area.
It is. That's a big barrier right there as well.
Yeah, transportation, and also the what do you call it, the empathy and acceptance. Whether you want to accept students, students. There was one time in 2021, I think the ministry was wrongly advised. They introduced that tagging in the UPU system, where the programs you can certain type of disabilities can only attend certain program. I think there was a big issue there, and alhamdulillah it was resolved with the help of YB Rais Adiba, was senator, and also the minister of higher education at that time. So she agreed to actually revert back to the previous system, and we no longer have that tagging, alhamdulillah. But employment, for instance, there is still stigma, thinking that people with disabilities cannot work, blind people cannot. How do they work? They don't know that there's advancement in technology, and also people with hidden disabilities, they need to be given the opportunity as well, right? Because they are physically mobile, so you don't even have to do any upgrading or improvement, right? From physical, yes, you need to do upgrading. But then again, there are also
the supports are different.
Incentives are there, but sometimes the employers do not know about it, right?
That's correct.
So the support and empathy in terms of flexibility in the services, reasonable accommodation needs to be implemented, and there's a lot of, there's a lack of understanding of what reasonable accommodation is all about.
Yes. Yeah, Prof. I think with the pandemic hit, many silver linings, and I think one of that is that empathy came in, more understanding, and I feel that a lot of employers today are trying to be more inclusive, and are trying to do something within the workplaces to include people with disabilities. So all in all, unfortunately or fortunately, the pandemic had to happen for this realization to come about. So like you said, reasonable accommodations and reasonable adjustments as well. And for some people, Prof, they don't need it all the time, but in the event that we need it, it's there, right? And so I remember when Sarah Minkara came last year, I think that was really good, how she really explained it, where the normal person can now understand. When you make spaces, when you make things more inclusive, more accessible, everyone benefits, everyone wins. And then I think her example of the education system itself, right? So she explained about how, during her semesters, her friends would ask her, Sarah, what subjects are you taking this semester? And she would say, why does it even matter? They said it matters because when you're in the class, the professors taught better. See? So professors actually teach better when there is a person that is disabled in the room, and everyone gets a better education as well. The professors, try to teach better, they're more prepared, and then everyone wins, Prof. And this is what we're, really, really looking for. So it's not, something special that, you guys are providing for us, but really when you do that, it benefits everyone. And I think that example that she gave on the curb cuts, so that was really good as well. Sometimes you don't think about it, but of course the curb cuts was created initially for wheelchair users, but then eventually everyone benefited.
Exactly.
See? So I think that's a really, really good point. Prof, thank you so much for sharing that. Hopefully, we can all do something. I think one of the things that we really need to work on is Senator Ras Adiba alone isn't enough. We need more representation, Prof. Ruzita and everyone. So hopefully through conversations like this, through a louder voice, the government can hear us, the ministry can hear us, and we can do more, inshallah. Okay, Prof. So coming back to the mental health issues, so you spoke a little bit about, mental health issues, mental struggles, and how, I'm a person with a lived experience of a mental health condition. Just seeing me from the facade, do you see my struggles? You don't. But that doesn't mean that I don't have my struggles. It doesn't mean that I don't need support. Sometimes, you know, when I'm in a bad shape, I do need a lot of support. But that also doesn't mean that I need support all the time. So maybe a little bit, Prof, what are your thoughts on the mental health condition among persons with disabilities? Because PWDs, you know, we struggle a lot with mental health challenges as well. The emotional impact, the psychological impact, especially during COVID, during the pandemic, during the first 2 years, there was a huge struggle. And you obviously thrived in the face of adversity. If you can share with us maybe some, you know, some of your wisdom. I know you said embracing this condition, tapi easier said than done,
Yes,
Prof.
true.
How do we embrace that? How do we find that hope amidst, you know, all these struggles and feeling trapped in hopelessness, as an example? What would you say, Prof?
First of all, it's not easy.
Betul.
It's not easy.
We need to be clear on that.
Yeah, it's not easy. It is a journey.
It is a journey.
But the most important thing is to be on the right track, you know.
Yes.
Because sometimes people resort to other things, you know, to other things
True.
which are actually more damaging and more detrimental to not just to their mental health, but to themselves.
Of course.
Themselves. So I think it's very important for us to identify, okay, get help.
Get help.
And get help from the right sources.
You're right.
Right? Don't get help from, you know, sometimes you think that our friends can, you know, help. But sometimes our friends don't have that training, you know. And sometimes it causes a lot more damage than, you know, if you need professional help, go to professional help.
Seek
professional help.
Yes.
And do not be embarrassed, you know. Because I know there is a lot of stigma, you know. And some students, I know that, you know, they have to go, and some say, please don't tell my parents.
Exactly.
You know? Don't tell my parents. So it's like, okay, I have to keep this to myself, but at the same time, the parents need to be informed, you know.
Yes.
But when the doctor told me, no, you have to tell the parents, then I will do that, you know.
Right.
Then we try to protect the student, but at the same time, you know, they need to be protected as well by the parents, right? Because and that's where you need to know, you know, you must be on the right track, and the process. You know that you know what to do. Sometimes you know what to do. You know, you have to be, you know, do things to get closer to God and so on. You know, and make sure that at least for Muslims, for Muslims especially, you know, try to make sure that we fulfill the 5 obligatory prayers, because some they don't, you know, because when they are destroyed, you know, they even go far further away from you know, seeking that spiritual help. You know, I think that is not a good idea. You know, you need to go that spiritual side, because actually it's a spirit that is actually needs support. Okay, because when we talk about emotional well-being, it's actually the spirit that needs support. It's not the physical, the spirit that needs support. So we need to. The spirit actually needs food.
It needs food. We need to feed the soul.
We need to feed the soul. We need to feed it, and feed it with the right food.
Right.
Like, it's just like the body. You feed it with you know, poison. You poison the body. Same thing with the spirit. You don't feed it with poison. We need to feed it with good elements, good spiritual elements, and that can only come from, you know, good sources. You know, from religious sources, from spiritual sources, from our prayers. I always believe that, you know, prayer is the best, you know. And as you say, you know, this is not just for Muslims. When I was in the States, you know, we had meetings with, you know, disabled community students, you know, and I see, you know, the other students, you know, the Americans, and then we got to talking. He said, you know, talk about praise. Yes, he said, they were saying that, you know, it's very powerful. You know, even in the smallest you know, issue,
quantity,
you pray, and you know, somehow the problem is resolved, you know. I give you an example, very simple. Sometimes when I drive, you know, and then I need to go out from my car, if it rains, it's very difficult, I will get wet.
Of course.
You know, sometimes it's raining heavily, then I will say, oh my God, you know, how do I get out from my car, you know. You know, I said, okay, sometimes, you know, I would say, okay, please God, you know, when I arrive, you know, hopefully make it easy for me. Then the rain stopped. You know, and then just enough for the time for me to walk, and then it starts raining again. You know, it's things like that.
If it's not God, what is it?
Exactly. You know, it's simplest thing like that.
Yes,
you know? Then when you see that happening, you know, your kesyukuran, you know, you feel very thankful, and don't forget to say your thanks to Allah and to God for helping you and so on. So it's things like that. It's a very small thing to us, it's very small thing. To other people, it's very small thing, you know. But for us, it's huge.
It's huge.
You know, I can get wet, you know, the entire day.
Exactly.
So it's things like that. You have to find that that solace,
Yes.
and find it that the right way, the right source.
I think it's also very inspiring because, for the normal people or for us that maybe, don't have the same struggles, Prof, we take things for granted.
Yes.
If it rains, okay, I can just, take an umbrella and I'm fine.
Yes.
We don't necessarily understand the struggles of others. And I think, that's why, discussions like these are important. So the next time when we see someone that is, either paraplegic or whatever it might be, quadriplegic or in a wheelchair, maybe that person doesn't have an umbrella. Let me just grab that umbrella and share. Exactly. That's
empathy.
why that's empathy, and also it comes with knowledge. Because if you don't have that knowledge, then you might think that she can just hold the umbrella. Why isn't she holding the umbrella?
Exactly.
She forgot. Well, then she deserves it. That kind of thing.
Yes, exactly.
Tapi we're also quite judgmental in that sense, Prof? So I think that it's really, really important. Thank you so much, Prof, for sharing these insights so that we can do better, because knowledge is, of course, transformative, everyone. And Prof, so you've been really active in providing services for PWDs, or maybe initiating some of this and providing these insights, which are really, really important, so that we can all do more and we can do better. And maybe if you can share with us, I know you've done so much, but maybe some plans, Prof, if you have moving forward. What are some things that you still haven't done and you would like to? Or maybe other people can help you to materialize that as well? Maybe if you can share.
Definitely. At the moment, we are embarking on coming up with a strategic plan.
Okay.
A comprehensive strategic plan to make it as part of the university's strategic plan for inclusivity.
Okay.
Right. So
nice.
and it's not just our disability inclusion. It's inclusivity between local, international, and so on. But for under even under the inclusivity, the disability inclusion is one of the highlights, because one of the things that is very critical is what we call the mindset transformation.
Yes.
Element. All right. This is where we need to create the empathy and understanding, right? The knowledge needs to be there, because as you say, we cannot do it alone.
Can't.
Yes,
Nobody
do it
can.
alone. Nobody can. We can plan. We work together with
Yes.
all other divisions on the university, and we really need to get the help from students.
Yes.
Students, as well as staff. Right. So like academic staff, the administrative staff, everybody. So this is where we try to create programs. Programs to some sort of it's a disability quality training, but we also added additional elements in there, the Islamic content, and we sharing sessions, and we quote examples that our students, we take our students to share, some of the difficult times that they face, even with their friends,
Betul.
because there were cases where I'm just sharing lah. I think it happens also in all mosques, and not to downgrade the mosque lah, but this is one example of for us to be more thoughtful. We have a staff with visual impairment, right?
Okay.
So he's almost blind. Okay. Dr. Nizam, actually, you know him, right? So he was at the mosque, wanted to perform his ablution, wanted to go into the prayer hall. Of course, Dr. Nizam, you see the eyes looks okay, right?
Yes.
So, but he said, okay, he took out his white cane so that people know he cannot see. But nobody helped him. So he said, here we are all rushing to do for our prayers, but how come, nobody is helping me,
Right.
So that's the irony there, So sometimes we think that, we want to perform prayers, we want to do things for ourselves, but we also need to also see, check around us. Is there anybody
Look around.
look around. Is there anybody else who needs the help, right? And that's where, you need to be, it's good to be proactive. Because sometimes people with disabilities, they have low self-esteem, Sometimes because of rejections, they feel very reluctant to get help or to ask
We're
for
not
help.
going to raise our hand and say, I need help.
Yeah, because of rejections experience, things that hurtful things that people say to us, and so on. So you feel very, reluctant to do that. So it's good if you want to help, if you can approach, and can I help you, and how can I help you? That's very important.
Correct.
Right? Because sometimes if they don't need help, it's okay, they will tell you politely that they don't need help, but if they do need help, then it's very welcoming for them.
Exactly.
It's easier for them to actually tell, what is it that they need for you to help them.
Right.
And that's very important. That's why we need our students, to assist, especially students, because they are the peers. We have, for instance, students with autism. We have an increasing number now. More and more are being diagnosed now, emerging.
IIUM, you mean?
IIUM,
I see.
they were, of course, they were having it for a long time, but they were not officially diagnosed. So 2-3 people, these past few months, emerge, you know. These are very obvious characteristics of autism, you know.
Right.
And for them, you know, we need the support of the students and the staff. And alhamdulillah, you know, if once we actually explain to them, you know, they are very supportive, you know. Like for instance, Brother Arif, kan? Arif, moderate autism, needs a lot of support because his mental age is 8 years old. But alhamdulillah, you know, when students volunteer, when they come, I brief them for 1 hour. Then after that, they became close friends, you know. Alhamdulillah. So and that really makes a difference in his life. You know?
Of course, it does.
Yes, alhamdulillah. So these are the things that we need. We need to spread the empathy, spread the knowledge. You know, once we hear all this, we have learned about all these things. We spread it to our people around our friends. Yeah? As more and more people can actually understand, you know, we can have a better world, you know,
a more inclusive world,
more inclusive and a more happier world.
Exactly, inshallah. I mean, thank you very much, Prof. Ruzita. Maybe just one last question before we end the show. Of course, masa berlalu dengan cepat, ya, Prof. You know, you spoke about mindset transformation. You also spoke about disability inclusion. Just a little bit, Prof. You know, when we all went through COVID, 2020, the pandemic happened, and the disability response was really poor. Maybe just one or two things that we can improve, Prof, and your hopes for 2023. Silakan.
I would think that I hope, the wish list is long, of course.
Of course.
Of course. But the biggest thing I would think, you know, is the Akta OKU. Akta OKU needs to be revised, okay? And there needs to be some punitive elements there.
Yes.
Somehow need to be included, right? So because you know that we have good policies, we have good regulations, but you know the enforcement is a bit lacking, lagging, and you know, and we need to be reinforced with the Akta.
Yes.
Because people are good, you know. We try to create empathy and awareness and so on. And yes, you know, we need to get everybody yang non-disabled help, advocacy,
of course,
activists and so on. But at the same time, then it's people are people, human beings, you know. There will be deviations, you know. So you need to have that to be reinforced by the regulations, rules and regulations,
of course,
by the law itself. So we need to be protected by the law in order to ensure that our rights are being given.
Yes. Thank you so much, Prof. Ruzita. I fully concur. PWD Act 2008, we need to revise. It's all right, but we can do much better with the PWD Act, and of course our UNCRPD country report, hopefully this year, and then the parallel report can come in. Thank you so much, Prof. Ruzita, for sharing your insights. Very, very inspirational, and as always, I learned a lot, and I hope those that are watching have learned a lot too. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us in today's episode of The Game Changer, Transforming Communities for Inclusion, Creating Hope Through Action. We'll see you guys next week, inshallah. I end this with Wabillahi taufiq wa hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.